Welcome to Holistically Speaking. I am Morella DeVoe, your host. Our mission with Holistically Speaking is to be the avenue through which the voices of holistic health reach you at the time you need it most. And today we're not talking about health in a conventional way. We're talking about smiling, about flexing your face, about creating magic in simple moments. And I'm joined today by Ryan Esbjerg. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, grateful to be here.
I'm really excited about our show today and about talking to you about what you do. I think that you're a real shifter for people because not everybody thinks like you. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
So I would love to start with you sharing with our viewers what Flex Your Face is all about.
So Flex Your Face is a company, a movement that I started in February of this year. And the whole mission behind it is to ignite individuals' lives through the celebration of small moments in your day, like a smile.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that we do. We speak in schools and businesses all around the country. One of the big things that we do is we sell super comfortable, affordable apparel. Mm-hmm. And then we use all the proceeds to help the people that have purchased the apparel pursue a dream or goal they've always had.
So everybody who buys anything from you, it's T-shirts and...
Yeah, we've got, it started with T-shirts and it's grown into everything from hoodies. We have, sweatpants, tank tops, all the way down to children's apparel and the little onesies, and it's very simple. Yeah. What we do is we have a list of names, whether you purchase through our online store or at one of our speaking events. If you purchase something for someone else, we have their name and how they want us to get a hold of them. And then basically 4 times a year, once a quarter, we pick a name at random and we get a hold of the individual and we say, what have you always wanted to do? And then we use all the money to help them do it.
So whatever they buy, every single person who buys something gets put on this list, right?
Every single person. If you buy 2 shirts for yourself, you have an opportunity to either put your name down twice or choose a friend and put their name down. They could know that their name's on the list and maybe they don't know. And then the point is your name's never off the list. When we draw a name, we don't start over. Whether you buy a $10 onesie, a $15 T-shirt, or the most expensive thing we have is a $30 hoodie. Right. We could call you 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 weeks from now, and say, what have you always wanted to do? The point of the apparel is really to be a comfortable reminder that you can pursue anything that you want in this world if you just take a deep breath, flex your face, and then take the next step.
Right. So, as people are listening to this, they might be wondering, like, what? You're talking about buying shirts and buying apparel, but really, as you just said, the point of your business isn't really about the shirts.
It's certainly not. And if we don't sell another T-shirt, the company's still going to grow. The movement's still going to grow. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're creating a community of like-minded individuals that are all unique, that are finding their individual passions. Obviously, that's going to be different for every single person, but we're building a community built on simplicity. What makes you smile in your day, and then growing from there.
So, eventually I'm going to ask you about the stories of these dreams that you're making come true. But what you just said, the helping people focus on the simplicity and helping them find their passion. How does that how do you balance the idea that, okay, flex your face for the simple things in life, but then you're also doing these big dreams?
So what I found in my personal life is that whenever I've tried to pursue something, and I've always thought about the grand scheme and the big picture, I've never achieved that goal because I've always thought I've always thought so far down the road. So what we're really trying to do, again with the apparel, again with the community, is to stimulate the conversation, to have you begin to talk about it. Because ultimately, when you smile physiologically, your body starts to change. When you start talking about what you're passionate about, things start to change and doors start to open. Doors that you don't even know are there. And again, I could share many examples of how it's happened in my own life. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is, again, stimulate that conversation. What have you always wanted to do? And as you're talking about that with us, with your colleagues, with your classmates, small things start to happen, and then you start that journey.
So I want to take a step back and ask you how you got to do this, how you started this movement, because it's really becoming a movement. So how did this happen?
Yeah, so ultimately, it stems from a lot of darkness that I had in my life. Everyone goes through some hardships, and I went through some stuff very powerful for me. Certainly there's been people that have gone through much, much worse things than me, but for my story, it was very impactful for me. My story includes, you know, my parents getting divorced. I had friends that I had lost to addiction. I had an uncle who took his own life. All of the things that are you've heard in the world, but they were very, very powerful for me, and I actually dealt with them in a very unhealthy way. I had no why in my life. I had a job, I was suit and tie, I would go to work, and when these situations, when life presented these to me, I had no why. So they really, really crushed me. And it's only when I simplified and I got excited about things like the air in my lungs, one foot in front of the other, what really made me smile in my day, the doors started to open and amazing things started to happen.
Yeah. It's really incredible to hear you say feeling excited about the air in your lungs. That's certainly something that we all take for granted, you know, for the majority of our lives. And most people, I think, listening to that would say, what? You know, just how do you feel excited about the air in your lungs?
And honestly, like I said, I had gotten to a point where I had been overcomplicating and underappreciating every single thing in my life. I was a college graduate. I had an amazing childhood, and even with all of those things, the upbringing, I had reached the darkest part of my life through alcoholism and through not being able to deal with things in a healthy, motivated way.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind me asking you to share this moment, because I think when I heard you speak about a month ago at Ignite Burlington, when you talked about the moment of being in the hospital and really appreciating that air in your lungs, can you tell us about that?
So, without getting into specifics of how I got to that moment, you know, as I had mentioned, parents getting divorced, friends that had passed away, I drank a lot, and I drank to the point that I was hospitalized several times. And I believe the moment you're talking about is I was here in Burlington in Fletcher Allen, and I was very confused. I said, how did I'm a smart guy. I'm a smart individual. How did I let myself drink to the point where I couldn't function, to the point where I had to be hospitalized? And I decided that moment to stop complicating, to start saying, oh, I'm an intelligent guy. Like, how do I get back to the job? How do I get back to the apartment? And I said, what do I have right now while I'm sprawled out in the hospital bed, you know, embarrassed. I've got machines attached to me that are literally keeping me alive, that are pumping me with the nutrients that I wasn't giving myself. What do I have right now to work with? And honestly, all I had was the air in my lungs, and I got excited about that. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I continued to, every time I woke up, just get excited about it. Anything after that big first deep breath was really a bonus for me, and I live that way today.
And when I heard you say those words, they really struck me. And I wanted to hear you speak about it again, because I know that everybody watching this will hear that and say, oh my God, that is so profound. And if I can get to the point of being grateful for the air in my lungs and really appreciating what I have right now, where I am right now, that things get better from there. Because so many of us have been in that place of not having a why, not having a direction, or feeling lost, or feeling like there's just nothing going for us.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, it's unique to the individual. You certainly do not have to be lying in a hospital bed to reach a point where you're like, enough is enough. I want to start being happy. I want to start doing the things that I've always thought about doing. And that's what we try to promote in the community, and we connect with people all over the world.
So how is this, you know, and I'm going to use again the being grateful for the air in your lungs, flexing your face just because you're breathing, right? How are you spreading this message?
Well, social media has been an enormous help. The word of mouth has been phenomenal. You know, you have people who are taking pictures of themselves wearing the apparel and letting the community know what makes them smile. And then they're connecting with other people from all over the world, all over the country that, oh yeah, I love to do that as well. And they start the conversation, and ultimately that's exactly what we're trying to do. The apparel came about by accident. You know, we were trying to raise some money for the licensing and all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and it just hasn't stopped. So we're continuing the momentum with that.
So is it mostly through Facebook or is there one particular channel that's working really well for you? Or?
Well, if I had to pick one, the strongest connections we've had are through Facebook. We do have Instagram and Twitter. We've connected with people like Julian McClurkin. He's one of the Harlem Globetrotters. He's a brand ambassador for us now. He saw our stuff on Instagram and said, you know, I'd like to be part of this. And so we opened up the conversation with him. Like I said, we do have the Twitter. We have Instagram, Facebook. We're emailing. I'm trying to really build the talking aspect of it. You know, we travel all over New England and ultimately all over the country, and I like to get in front of people. I like to be face to face, the flex to flex, if you will, because that's really where the passion is. All the apparel stuff is bonus, but if you can connect with someone on a very eye-to-eye basis and see the excitement, see their breath start to change when they're talking about what motivates them in their day, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking you is especially for viewers, for people who are maybe catching this, saying, okay, where am I going to find him? And so we know that we can find you on Facebook.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of these dreams. I would love to hear about the stories of how you make these dreams come true for the people who participate in the Flex Your Face community.
Yeah, so like I said, we're growing organically. We're growing very rapidly, and our goals are to do 4 drawings a year. We've done 3 so far. We're getting ready to do another big one, hopefully before the end of the year. And the first one we did was we pulled a 70-year-old woman's name. We grew out of Portland, Maine. We have a huge following here in Burlington and then spread throughout the country. And so she lives in Portland, and we got a hold of her, and she had bought apparel because her granddaughter had bought apparel, and she just loved the concept and Flex Your Face and what makes you smile. And so I opened up the conversation with her and said, hey, we drew your name. What have you always wanted to do? And she said, no, put my name back in the hat. I don't want to jump out of a plane. Like, I don't. So she thought it was more of like a bucket list scenario, like what adventure do you? And I said, well, right now, and I put a little pressure on her. I said, what have you always wanted to do? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Go right now. What do you? And she goes, Jerry Seinfeld. And I was like, what? I don't even know what that means. And she goes, well, he's really funny. And you said you were pressuring me, and you just said, you know, what have you always thought it was? And so she goes, he's a really funny guy. It'd be cool. So long story short is we bought her and her husband front row tickets to Jerry Seinfeld, who was coming up to Maine. They loved it. They enjoyed themselves so much that now they go on a date night every week, and they go experience new stuff in Portland, Maine. The second one we did was we pulled a girl's name from Boston, and 26 years old, and she told us she didn't want to be on social media. She didn't want to put anything, but she expressed to us that she didn't know how to ride a bike. And of course I questioned that, and I said, do you have an impairment or what's going on? She says, no, it's embarrassing. I was neglected as a child. Each time that people wanted to go on a bike ride, I avoided it, and now it's to the point where I'm in my mid-20s and I don't know how to ride a bike. I said, I'll be there this weekend. So we got down there, we found a neighborhood, we bought a decent bike. I went down to Boston. It was super awkward at first. Grabbed the seat, went back and forth, you know, found the balance, got over that initial hump. You and I would see her bombing around Boston, think nothing of it, but up until earlier this year, she couldn't get over that hump. The last one we did was a young gentleman, 13 years old, from northern Maine. He was ready. He was ready for Flex Your Face to call. His mom had bought apparel for the whole family. She was instilling the values that we're trying to instill in the community with her children, saying, find the small moments in your day. And Emmett was ready. So I got a hold of him. I'm about to do my spiel where I'm like, hey, you know, we're connected with you. And he's like, I want to meet Cristiano Ronaldo. And I was like, I didn't even get a chance to do my whole thing, man. And he said, you're the Flex Your Face guy, and I want to meet my idol, Cristiano Ronaldo. And instead of just saying, okay, let's do that, I opened up the conversation to him. And I said, well, why do you want to meet him? And he said, well, he's the best soccer player in the world, and I want to learn how he practices. I want to see him play in person. And it makes sense. He had an idol for a very healthy reason. So we started doing some Googling. We, of course, don't know Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a very influential person around the world. So the best that we could do is we got him to a game. Ironically, Portugal was exhibitioning Mexico. Cristiano Ronaldo plays for Portugal. They were exhibitioning at Gillette Stadium.
Oh,
and so
wow.
It was very lucky. It was just before the World Cup was about to start. So we got him, his mother, and his buddy from school tickets to the game. And the point is they went, they were on fire. They saw, you know, the athletes down the field. They saw the drills that they do before, and they start emulating that, and they brought it back to their team. So
very cool.
those are the 3 we've done so far, and we're anxious and we're excited. We're going to do another one very shortly.
But you haven't picked the person yet.
So we haven't picked the individual yet who wins, and I think what we're going to do is have Emmett come to the greater Burlington area. Channel 3 has actually done a backstory, and we want to kind of do a live drawing. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to work out. Yeah.
So what is the impact that you're seeing in people from participating in the Flex Your Face community?
It's astonishment, and it's certainly nothing that we're doing is new. We're getting people excited about what makes them smile. We've put a little cool twist and an awesome name to it.
Yeah.
But ultimately what we're trying to do, in my life, I've been so freely given amazing opportunities, and it's through little inspirational moments, and that's what we're trying to present to the community. So when I give one of these flex talks, when I talk to people, whether you're a little school child or whether a few days ago we spoke at a hospital with a bunch of doctors, you can see in their eyes that moment when you talk about what makes you smile in your day, and they start to think about it, and then they say, oh, it's that simple? It's that simple. And literally, the physiological, I can't really explain it, but when you smile, whether it's genuine or not, your physiological, it starts to change.
Yeah.
And you start to feel a little bit better. And ironically, there's always that one or two people in the crowd that you can't get them to smile, and they just want to be stuck in their wrinkles. And so it's been a community that recognizes it, and you see this aha moment where they're like, oh, that did make me smile today, and if I focus on that rather than all these stresses that the world has been put on me, I can get through whatever's happening.
Well, and it's interesting, just before the show, you and I were talking about this, and a quote that I just recently came across and I was sharing with you is, it's probably at the core of these people who can't smile, is that I need a reason to smile, where this quote said, it's not happy people who are thankful, it's thankful people who are happy.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, we don't need to find a reason to smile or a reason to be grateful, just decide to be grateful and decide to smile, and then everything follows, right?
Absolutely. If you focus on what's going on in here, and like I said, if you're grateful for the air in your lungs, because it is a gift, amazing stuff starts to happen.
Yeah. And obviously, this show is called Holistically Speaking, so we're talking about health and healing in a sort of, in some way. How do you see this bringing healing for you in your life?
Well, honestly, selfishly, when I started the Facebook group, it was to put positivity out there. I was taught when you put positivity out there, it'll come back. And for a long time, I didn't believe that. And when I said, okay, I'm just going to try this, I'm going to be putting out quotes, I'm going to be putting out positive stuff that's going on in my life, and instantly, all this positivity started coming back, and it's been coming in waves and waves and waves. That's why I'm excited to do a lot of traveling, to connect with people face to face, is because life is so much easier when you're surrounded by amazingly positive people. And honestly, when I go into some of these talks, a lot of them aren't very positive, but certainly when we're finished, everyone is excited and we're laughing and we're talking about the goofy stuff that's happening in the day or in the week or what's coming up. And so ultimately, my personal goal has been to better my life, and then to build a community around what's working for me, and to connect with individuals that you know, are looking for that passion as well, and to let them know that through simple things, through that one little millimeter shift in your life, it opens up these amazing doors.
Yeah. And earlier you also mentioned about leaving complexity behind, you know, letting go of complexity and getting to the simple things. What do you mean by that?
So when I look back at what drove me into the darkness and where I stayed there for so long, is because I overcomplicated and underappreciated everything. And speaking specifically about the overcomplication, was I always thought I was entitled based on past experiences to certain things. I worked my way through college, got a college education, graduated with a bachelor's, and because of that, I thought that I was ahead of what was pulling me down, and that's completely untrue. Granted, it gave me opportunities to pursue things that I might have been passionate about, but it turns out I wasn't. So in simplifying everything, I mean, the word itself is comforting. When you simplify, you don't have to worry about all this and this. And I'm not saying you don't have to worry about rent, I'm not saying you don't have to worry about your mortgage or taking care of your kids and all that, but it becomes easier when you're so grateful for the simple things in life rather than what you don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious also because in our life today, it just seems that there's so much about all the things that we need to have. You know, there's 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have all these gadgets and phones. And, you know, there's just so much stuff that we end up feeling like we need. And life can become really complicated. Is that also part of what you mean, or?
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I came out of the darkness, like I said, for weeks and weeks, it literally was air in my lungs, and it still is today. And then it transferred into, I'm just going to get a job that I enjoy, but you know, is not going to bear a lot of stress. And I did that, and I grew a little bit from that. To this day, I mean, I don't have a car, I don't have a computer. I have a cell phone that connects to all the social media networks. I can build the website from there. I take the bus wherever I'm traveling around the country. I do my best to simplify and everything. I'm not saying that I don't have the opportunity to get a car, and I'm not saying it would not make sense to get a car to travel. It would be easier, but for me, I get excited about the simple things, and in that sense, I'm able to direct my money into more motivational, healthy stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, life can be so much more simple when it's simple. You know, it's easy and.
It's a lot of people try to overcomplicate even our mission. At the end of the day, take all the apparel out of it, take all the talks out of it. We're literally just trying to connect people with what makes them smile in their day. And for me, it's as simple as the air in my lungs, a nice fresh orange juice in the morning.
I was just going to ask you, so what makes you smile? What makes you flex your face?
Honestly, it's connecting with other people. I love to travel. And I've traveled all over the world since I've decided to live a more healthy lifestyle. The idea of meeting new individuals and building upon that. I'm really connected with part of my family, and I'm really trying to connect with the other part of my family. So that's important to me. But at the end of the day, honestly, every single morning, I take that big, big, deep breath, and I smile because I knew where I was. And I feel very, very lucky and grateful that I have that opportunity to take the breath. It seems very simple, but when you work on your mental fitness and when you get to that point where you literally get excited about that air, everything else is bonus.
And it's funny, another quote, today is the quote day.
Perfect.
Another quote that just popped to mind based on what you were saying that I read this morning is by Oprah Winfrey. And she says, the more that you celebrate and appreciate the things in your life, the more that there is in your life to celebrate. And so the more you throw a little party for breathing, you know, it just gets better and better from there, right?
Yeah, and it's insane. I spoke about it today earlier at a business retreat, and the most amazing things happen when you do focus on that. All these doors open up. I don't want people to think that just because I focus on the air in my lungs that I live a boring life where I sit in a chair and I'm like, oh, I'm breathing, I'm good. But because I get excited about that, because I connect with other individuals on the same level or try to inspire them, all these other doors open up. Like I said, I've traveled around the country, I've been invited to certain things that I never would have been invited to, and just building a very fulfilling life.
What sorts of groups do you speak with? And I'm thinking of the person who might be watching this and, you know, maybe you're the perfect speaker for their group or their organization. What sort of groups have you been speaking to?
Well, honestly, whether it's one individual in a coffee shop who wants to know what Flex Your Face is about, up into, like I just had this afternoon, a giant business retreat of a very large organization that says, come inspire us. What we've done so far in the first year, we've connected with schools of all ages, from middle school up to university-aged students. We've spoke at hospitals. We've had the opportunity to speak at the business retreats. We're looking to build the talks around universities and the younger students as well. I think it's a very moldable age. I remember when I was in the middle school, high school range, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on, and I would love to connect with them and say, take a big deep breath. You got a whole big world ahead of you and a lot of adventure. You know, let's take it one small moment at a time. And ultimately that will hopefully instill and ignite people to pursue whatever they want to chase.
And I'm wondering too, do you have a sense of a particular community that particularly needs this, that especially needs to hear your message?
Well, if you ask in terms of need, I always relate to my own life. I'm never going to speak above. I don't pretend to be a counselor, a priest, a doctor, or anything. And I think about in my life when I maybe needed this the most. The addiction community, people who are suffering both physiologically, emotionally, from an attraction to something that's very, very unhealthy. I was there. It doesn't always come through in a very way, but if you keep talking to these people and say, listen, don't overcomplicate it. If you keep talking to people like myself who were there, who were just trying to figure it out, I don't understand why this substance is destroying my life. And it's because I was overcomplicating it. It's very simple. If you put something bad in your body, bad stuff will happen to you. And then when you're in it, you don't really recognize it. So I would love to connect with, you know, the addiction community, but on both sides of it, both people who are recovering and both people who are connecting with people that are recovering.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many people who feel really lost when all they have is the friend in in their substance or whatever it is that's helping them. We have a few more minutes, and I'm wondering if there's something that you feel you need to share that we haven't shared, that we haven't touched on. What might that be?
Well, there's two things that come to mind. One is our brand ambassador program. One thing that I found was as I'm connecting, as the apparel sales were coming in, I've been handwriting notes to every single person that orders in anticipation and in hopes that they really understand what the apparel means and what the mission is, far above a super comfortable t-shirt. You know, what do you have in your possession? You're now part of a bigger community. Because I was losing connectivity with people all over the world, we created a brand ambassador program where you can have a face in your community that when you say, what is Flex Your Face, there's that person that you've seen walking down the street, you've seen in your university, you've seen in your business that can speak for us. Right now we have 27 brand ambassadors representing us in 17 different states, and we hope to have a brand ambassador in every state by the end of next year. Another thing is we like to connect with businesses, groups, organizations that want to help us sponsor certain events. For example, in Maine, on the ocean, we do a sunset stand-up paddleboarding night. Obviously, it's in the summer before the cold winter hits. And the whole idea is it's free. We get a bunch of paddleboards down there. People get to come out and try something new and connect with other individuals in their community. We want to do stuff in every community. So businesses out there that might say, oh, you know, I could see how we could fit into that, and we want to get people to either recognize what we have going on through positivity, or we can provide a product or service to do that.
So there's lots of ways to get engaged and help spread the smiling wave.
Absolutely.
So I want to be sure to show our viewers your website and your Facebook link. So Flex Your Face is very easy. It's flexyourface.com. And the Facebook page that you can go ahead and like is Flex Your Face as well, and connect with all of the people who are flexing their face, smiling for the air in their lungs, for the simple things, for, you know, I sometimes think about the fact that I have a fully functioning body as something that I'm greatly appreciative of, and just, you know, smile at my legs and my hands and my toes. It's like, oh wow, you know, and not take it for granted.
That's the key.
Any parting words for our viewers? No,
I'm just real grateful to be here to you know, connect with you. You know, we met a while ago, and to be part of this you know, TV show, and to connect in a very positive way. And I want to continue the momentum. And I want to encourage people to reach out to us through our Facebook, through any of our social media outlets, to email us at flexyourfacetoday@gmail.com. Share your story. Invite us, you know, to come speak. We want to be everywhere. We want to connect with everyone from the school child up to the elderly people. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, for joining us. I hope that you were inspired by Ryan to flex your face, appreciate the air in your lungs, and join me next week, because we're going to be talking about bullying and what that means for healing. So see you next time.